Section 7-2, Part 1, Representing Functions in Different Ways. During 1 hour of walking, you burn about 257 calories. The total number of calories burned is a function of the number of hours you walked. How can you represent this situation in 4 different ways? Well, the first way we're going to look at it is an ordered pair. Like we did with our last example, we want to use an ordered pair. So the first way that we're going to look at it, from the total number of calories burned is a function of the number of hours you walked. Since the calories burned depends on the hours you walked, the input is time in hours and the output is the number of calories burned. So we're going to have an X and a Y. Remember, X is your input and Y is your output, okay? So X is going to represent, input is the time in hours. So this is the time in hours is going to be your X. And then your output is going to be the number of calories burned. So this would be number, your Y, or your output represents the number of calories burned. Well, in our original problem, it says during 1 hour of walking, you burn about 257 calories. So if you walk 1 hour, walk 1 hour, you burn 257 calories. So here is an ordered pair that represents the information in our problem. Now, with ordered pairs, we always need to start with our input being 0. If you walk 0 hours, you're going to burn 0 calories. All right, so 257 is going to be the point that we talked about. Now 2, if you walk 2 hours, you're going to multiply twice, or you're going to burn twice this amount. If in 1 hour you burn 257, in 2 hours you're going to burn 2 times that. So take your calculator, and when you multiply 2 times, you can multiply it to the side if you need to. You're going to be multiplying 2 times 257, and when you do, you get 514. So that's where the point comes of 514. To find 514, we said 2 times 257. Now if you walk 3 hours, you're going to multiply the 3 times the 257. So 257 times 3. You can use an X or a dot. So we said 257 times 3 is 771. If you walk 4 hours, you're going to multiply 257 times 4, okay, which would be 1,028. So there's one way of representing this problem is using ordered pairs with input and output. X being the time in hours, Y is the number of calories burned. Another way that you can represent this information is the table of values. We talked about these earlier as well. Your time is your input or your hours, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, same as your ordered pairs. Calories burned, 0, 257, 514, 771, and 1,028. Remember, the way that we found each one of these, we were told that in 1 hour we would burn 257. So if for 2 hours, you will take this number, 257, and multiply it times 2 and get 514. To get this number, you will take 257 and multiply it times 3 to get 771. And then for 4 hours, you'll take the original 257 times the 4 would give you 1,028. So that's another way of representing our information. Let's look at another way that we could represent our information would be using a graph, by graphing these points. So we have the points 0, 0. We have the point 1, 257, 2, 514, 3, 771, and then 4, 1,028. Okay, so here's our point 0, 0. Since our Y value, our output values are so large, you see we used 200, 400. In other words, every little marking represented 200, 200, 400, 600, 800, 1,000, 1,200. The title of this graph is Calories Burned. X is your time in hours. The Y values are your number of calories burned. Okay, so 0, 0, 1, 257 is this point. Okay, so this is 1, 257. This point is your 2, 514. This one is 3, 771. And the last one would be 4, up 1,028. Okay, so you see that is the third way, is to draw a graph. Next, I want us to write an equation. Our fourth rule, we're going to be writing an equation or a function rule. During 1 hour of walking, you burn about 257 calories. So the first thing we want to think about is our function rule. We know that the total calories burned equals the calories burned per hour, and we will multiply it times time. So I could write this out in word form, our function rule in word form. Total calories burned equals calories burned per hour times time. All right? Now, in our function rule, we need to have an X and a Y. So we've got to represent an X and a Y, the values that we need. All right, so X needs to be the number of hours walked, because that's what we know. You're either going to walk 0 hours, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. So the input is my X, the number of hours walked. Y is your output. That is going to be the total number of calories burned. That's the total number of calories burned is your Y. So Y equals 2. How many calories did the original problem tell us that we would burn in 1 hour? We were told that we would burn 257 in 1 hour. This is the ordered pair that you will always look at when you are writing your function rule. We were told in 1 hour we would burn 257 calories. That was the original information from the problem. And again, right there it is at the top of my screen. During 1 hour of walking, you will burn about 257 calories. This is the number that you will use in your function rule because it represents the 1 hour. So Y equals 2, the total number of calories burned, 257, times X, which is the number of hours walked. Therefore, our function rule is Y equals 2, 257X. This is the function rule. This is the fourth way to represent our information. So y equals 257x. When you write a number and a letter side by side, that means multiplication. You do not have to put the dot. So 257x is 257 times x.